thought that in this video, I have a bit of a drive to go, so I thought, you know what, I'm gonna share a little bit more about my story and how you heal your bowel and immune system issues from the inside out. And this one has to do with relationships. That's a huge integral part of healing the bowel and healing the immune system. And there's such deep programming and conditioning that had happened in your body. Deeply healing the bowel has been such a journey for me. And it's an ongoing process. So yeah, first you do heal the leaky gut, candida symptoms, but then it's like you just strengthen your bowel as time goes on. Depending on when we're stressed and whatever, everybody gets like some diarrhea, some constipation, or some bloating. It's not like that doesn't happen to me anymore. It does, but it's like it's not frequent, and if it does happen, I know how to work through it, and my body's telling me that I'm anxious or I'm in resistance. And it's like healing the layers or peeling the layers back. So it's like levels of healing. So at first, when I was like super anxious, I would have like, and I didn't even know that I was super anxious, but I remember I always had diarrhea because I was always on the go, and I was like really nervous when I was younger. And then when I was like having episodes of constipation, I'm sorry, this is not a glamorous topic, but we need to really go into this, is I would be in a lot of like resistance to something. And usually it's like aspects of my life, and for me it's my relationships. My relationships impact me like crazy. And they may seem normal because that's how you functioned, or that's how I functioned most of my life in relationships. But when you go into the psychological underpinnings of your relationship, you realize how unexpressed you really are, or how scared you are, or that you're into these modes of, like, for example, you're controlling, people pleasing, and you don't even know that you're doing that because that's just like part of your personality, is like really controlling, really anxious type will have, like, usually that goes hand in hand with like bowel issues, and it's like a severe insecurity and self-esteem. You're in relationship with everything. You're in relationship with your job, you're in relationship with, you know, your intimate partner, which is going to trigger the most out of you. Really asking yourself, how are you with people? Are you being honest with people? Like really emotionally open and honest? But there's parts of me where I wasn't even honest with myself. And I think that I just masked it so much, and it just became more of like a control issue than anything. Instead of kind of like stepping back, because that's what it is. You're peeling layers of control off of you. And then once you do that, and you kind of like open up your pride, because that's the thing, is like if you have pride and you have a lot of control, it's even hard to see if you're emotionally honest. And it's not a bad thing to have pride, but when you have any history of abuse, and this is a very broad term here, but like history of neglect abuse, history of emotional abuse, verbal abuse, physical abuse, sexual abuse, any of these like harmful kind of things that happen to you, or you just have like a parent that's severely neglectful of you, or you have parents with addictions, there's definitely been abuse that's happened to you. You put up a lot of defensive mechanisms, or you close yourself off to cope with the world. People with bowel issues or immune system issues, you will have a lot of defensive pride, a lot of and a lot of and it's tricky because you may not even be aware of it. That's how much you're kind of dissociated from yourself. So it takes a level of pain. Okay, so like for me, I'm pretty stubborn, and it wasn't until I was severely emotionally and physically suffering with my health for me to surrender some of that control, or surrender that I don't have to fix everything, surrender that there is like a power within and beyond me to move through the resistance, the trauma, and the emotions that I was beginning to awaken to. So yeah, pain is really pain, and I would say fear. No, pain, suffering, and fear, like really bad anxiety, is the doorway to change. It's really the doorway to catalyze your emotional and spiritual growth. And that's sometimes necessary in like healing. And I feel like what I'm doing is awakening people to, and bringing an awareness to your relationships in your life, and really healing those things, to deeply heal the bowel, because the foundation of such relationships brings upon so much stress in your body and how you function in the world. If you grew up in ways where you had a chaotic, or there was a lot of fighting, or a lot of like anxiety, or some addictive codependent tendencies in your childhood and in your upbringing and in your relationships, that's a really stressful way to live. And like sometimes that's all that you are. So for me, it's been such a journey. It's been such a journey of like unapologetically expressing myself, God, and feeling like so much shame, and like just peeling off like that defensive pride that I had. And like it was so like, when you just peel that off, it hurts so bad. You just don't even know how wounded you are. It's crazy. And it's like, it's gorgeous. Like, I don't even, honestly, like the last 4 years have been so crazy, but it's been just so gorgeous. The spiritual journey, and when I mean spiritual, it means you go through pain. It means you feel things that nobody wants to feel. And you just get this insane power, and this energy leaves your body. This pain leaves your body. Let me tie it back into like how this relates to your physical. Is we do like so in nursing there's like a pain assessment, and there is like a pain scale, and it does affect, like there's literature, there's like measurement tools, saying that when you're in so much pain, it does affect your emotion, and your emotion does affect your physical. There's a lot of literature showing the link between the two. So when you awaken to that pain, or those pain bodies, or that kind of emotional trauma that's been just squashed down, there's going to be a lot of anxiety. There's going to be a lot of just oh my gosh. But all I can say is that it's a very gorgeous journey. It's so gorgeous. It's a shit show. It's wow. And I'll tell you the things that I've healed and that I'm currently still healing. So physically I'm fine, but physically I'm getting stronger. So that's sort of like where I'm at. But first you heal the narcissistic abuse. I didn't even know what that was before. But it's basically just, if you had a controlling or an oppressive parent, a punitive parent, which is like a lot of parents, that brings about so there's this category called narcissistic abuse. And because they're controlling, you've lost your identity. When a child is controlled and told that their decisions or their thinking process or emotions are wrong or something like that, it harms your way of like navigating through life. It harms your way of like, it gets in the way of knowing how to think for oneself, having the self-esteem to decide things in your life. So it's control abuse, basically. And who hasn't been through control abuse, right? Like, look at the epidemic of like our health issues. Our authentic self-esteem has been destroyed by the ego. Like, we can't, in the end, like, I think of like, you know, I was in this huge mode of this is what my parents did to me, but it's really the ego. Like, when it comes down to it, like, for example, my parents did an excellent job and they did the best with what they knew how, and most parents are like this. Like, think of like where they came from. Like, my parents came from a poverty-stricken country. They came from war, and they're immigrants. So like, do you imagine how much stress? Some of this is like not even their parenting. Some of this is intergenerational trauma. Intergenerational. So it's generational trauma. It's passed through the DNA, and it's passed through the bloodline. Like, oh my God, I'm just getting severe goosebumps just saying this. Is that like, sometimes it's just that. Sometimes you carry the trauma of your grandparents, of your parents, and this is real. Like, this is the last paper I wrote in grad school, is intergenerational trauma and in the Aboriginal or Native culture, and how it's like passed through history in our culture today, and how that manifests in like their alcoholism, in their abuse issues that they're dealing with right now. And it happens not just with, you know, Aboriginal or Indigenous cultures. It happens in all cultures. So a lot of that trauma you're carrying in your body, whether you're awakened to it or not. Now, if you're an empathic and sensitive person like me, which, you know, you likely are, you pick that up and your boundaries were destroyed. Your emotional boundaries of that ability to say, no, this is not okay for me. Yes, I want to do this. That ability to like really know whether it's too much for you or not, you know, or whether to speak up for yourself, whether to stop people pleasing. It's like really going through those areas and knowing that like those things have been destroyed. And when you've picked that all up, it's like it really affects with your nervous system and your gastrointestinal system, because it's a lot of stress that you carried, and it's a lot of programming and conditioning in the way that you're being, in the way that you're living, that does not foster health in the true way, in the relaxed way, in the way where you have self-esteem. Health is not about just eating the right foods, although that helps. Health is the ability to express yourself deeply in relationships, the ability to be honest, the ability to ask for what you need and what you deeply need, and knowing that you're worthy of that, knowing your deep, eternal, and internal worthiness. It is the ability to feel through things, everything. It's not about just being good. It's about being whole. It's about being bad and good and really forgiving yourself for all of that. It's the ability to like rip open that pride and be like, you know what? I'm not proud of this. And like, you know, there's a lot of like kind of shameful behaviors that we do, or maybe manipulative behaviors that we won't admit to. But it really begins with like doing things, like really admitting to yourself, I'm not proud of this. And just beginning to heal from there. You begin to heal your soul and your well-being from